The crowd starts to roar. We're ready for a start in the Run for the Roses. Talk as money was acting up just a bit in the starting gate. And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Song and a Prayer comes out in stride from his inside post. Balto Star is there, not far behind Millennium Wind. And here comes Keats from the far outside. Bias for the first time. And it is Song and a Prayer to lead the way. Balto Star right there with them. Keats on the outside is running along in third. Millennium Wind behind them fourth. Congaree is fifth. At Point Given is on the outside, heading for the clubhouse turn. He's racing in sixth position now. And then it's Talk as Money seventh in between horses. Express Tour is close to the pace eighth. He's only about 6 lengths from the lead. Then it's a break of 5 lengths now. Invisible Ink is ninth on the outside. Star Tech is running in 10th. AP Valentine is 11th. Thunder Blitz lumbering along in 12th place. Then it's a break of another 3 back to Monarchos. Dollar Bill followed on the inside by Arctic Boy. A break of 6 to Stretch running long shots. 50 Stars and Jamaican Rum. They're 20 lengths from the lead. The opening half mile was the fastest in Derby history. 44 and 4/5 seconds. Song and a Prayer's pace is blistering down the backstretch. With 4.5 furlongs remaining, it's Song and a Prayer, and he leads by 2 lengths over Balto Star. Millennium Wind is now third toward the inside. Congaree in good striking position on the outside. And the pent-up power of Point Given. 5 lengths from the lead, he's beginning to advance. Express Tour is right with him as the field rounds the far turn. Then Invisible Ink. Thunder Blitz is well within striking range. Jorge Chavez gets busy on Monarchos, and they're surging as they move toward the top of the stretch. And Congaree has come away with the lead. Here comes his stablemate Point Given on the outside. They ran 3/4 in 1:09 and 1. Record time here in the Derby. You're at the top of the stretch, and it is Congaree who is full out. Here comes Monarchos under a heavy drive on the far outside. Invisible Ink is there. Point Given not today. 1 furlong left. Here comes Monarchos, who sweeps to the lead. He's pulling away by 2. He's pulling away by 3. Jorge Chavez and Monarchos have won the Kentucky Derby, and the final time was 1 minute 59 and 4/5 seconds. He was as fast as Secretariat.
Ready for the start of the 131st Kentucky Derby. 23-year-olds in line. Spanish Chestnut breaking from post 13. And they're off in the Kentucky Derby, and Bandini and Spanish Chestnut both broke quickly. Bellamy Road is right there with them, and on the far outside it's going wild. So a stampede under us for the first time, and as expected it is. Spanish Chestnut in front, going wild right there on the outside. Bellamy Road not far behind in third. Flower Alley is fourth. High 550 twin horses. Closing argument sixth on the outside. High Limit is seventh at the rail, and Bandini is running in 8th position. Sun King's ninth toward the inside. Buzzards Bay is 10th. Fleet Alex in tight quarters, running 11th. 3 lengths back. Coin Silver is now 12th toward the inside. Noble Causeway is 13th. Andromeda's Hero is now 14th. Wilco 15th. Greeley's Galaxy 16th. Giacomo 17th in between horses. Sorted Out is 18th. And then Don't Get Mad is 19th, and Greater Good is the last of 20. 45 and 1/5 seconds, among the fastest opening half miles ever in the Kentucky Derby. In the role of the pacemaker, it is Spanish Chestnut. Flower Alley second on the inside. Javier Castellano is now asking Bellamy Road at the half-mile pole. Going wild in between horses, so too High Five. And Buzzards Bay making a move on the outside, closing argument. A Fleet Alex trying to thread his way through between horses. He will go inside as they round the far turn. 3 furlongs to go here. They ran 3/4 in a bruising 1:09 and 2. And here comes Bellamy Road, who's charging up on the outside. High Fi is moving with him. Spanish Chestnut is weakening. A Fleet Alex is in behind them. Closing argument is in with a chance there on the outside. Buzzards Bay coming down the middle of the track at the top of the stretch in the Kentucky Derby. High Five, Bellamy Road, closing argument on the far outside. Here comes a Fleet Alex charging through between horses. Giacomo, Don't Get Mad, late charge on the far outside. Coming down to the finish, closing argument, short lead. Giacomo, a Fleet Alex, it's a 3-horse photo finish, and on the wire, it's Giacomo who has won the 131st Kentucky Derby. Close for second, closing argument, and the Fleet Alex, Don't Get Mad was fourth. The final time was 2:02.3. So it is Giacomo, the winner of the Derby, and the second biggest long shot in the 131-year history of this race.
Giacomo, who in the Santa Anita Derby had finished fourth, beaten 2 lengths by Buzzards Bay there. Ridden by Mike Smith, who was 0 for 11 in the Kentucky Derby, but had been second 3 times. Mike Smith has been riding with Lafitte Pincay's saddle. Lafitte, when he retired, had over 9,500 victories. Mike Smith said, Lafitte, let me have it. I want to try to get it to 10,000. Well, never did he dream that he would get the Kentucky Derby using Lafitte Pincay's saddle. Giacomo, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jerome Moss, who also bred the colt in Kentucky. He's a 3-year-old colt by Holy Bull out of Set Them Free by Stop the Music.
$1 million at stake as Pioneer of the Nile enters the starting gate. Frisian Fire is still the favorite at 7-2. Pioneer of the Nile now being backed out and then goes back in with Garrett Gomez.
No. That's it. Just like that.
There's number 18, Nowhere to Hide.
Just like that.
And now for the call of the 135th Kentucky Derby. Let's go atop the stands and join Tom Durkin.
And there is Desert Party breaking from that post position number 18. Last to load will be Flying Private. Much of the speed here is going to be coming from the middle of the gate. Joining the dance, Papa Clem, Regal Ransom. Frisian Fire's got some early speed too. In the gate. And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. And it's Joining the Dance who's racing for the lead. Musket Man has some early speed on the inside. Here's Regal Ransom with some speed as well. Beneath the Twin Spires the first time. Regal Ransom and Joining the Dance will vie for the early lead. Pioneer of the Nile is right up there. And that's Papa Clem down toward the inside. He's now 4th. Desert Party forwardly placed 5th on the outside. Flying Private is 6th. Frisian Fire in and among horses is now 7th. Musket Man is 8th. Dunkirk is 9th on the outside. Then farther back down on the rail, that is Atomic Rain, running in the 11th position, 2 lengths back. And General Quarters is now 12th. Nowhere to Hide is 13th on the outside. Westside Bernie is now down toward the rail. On the outside, at the back of the pack, beginning to move up now, is Hold Me Back. Advice is also right there toward the back of the pack, along with Chocolate Candy, Summerbird. Advice, the last of them all, is Mr. Hot Stuff. So down the back stretch run, or even be well behind the rest of them, is Mind That Bird. So down the back stretch run and Joining the Dance. An impudent long shot leader here, 50-1, taking the field through an opening half mile that was strong, 47 1/5 seconds. Regal Ransom is 3rd. On the outside, Pioneer of the Nile. Now Garrett Gomez asking him for a bit more. He's right there. 3rd on the outside. Desert Party is now 4th. Hold Me Back 5th toward the inside. Papa Clem threads his way through horses. From 6th now, Musket Man is now 7th. Chocolate Candy is beginning to come alive now, and he's 8th on the outside. Then down toward the rail, it's Advice as the field turns for home. Top of the stretch, it's still Joining the Dance with a tenuous lead. Regal Ransom and Pioneer of the Nile strikes the front just outside the 8th pole. Musket Man is coming hard down the center of the track, and Papa Clem's right there too. Down toward the inside, coming on through. That is Mind That Bird now is coming on to take the lead as they come down to the finish. And a spectacular upset. Mind That Bird has won the Kentucky Derby. An impossible result here. Final horses in, ready for the start. And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. American Lion SB, there goes Conveyance. He's looking for speed on the outside. Looking at Lucky, he had to step on the brakes in the early going. So it's Conveyance. Super Saver is inside. Here comes a pumped up Sydney's Candy on the outside as they make their move headlong for that critical first turn. Conveyance leads. On the outside, Sydney's Candy is 2nd. Lion of David is 3rd. Mission Impossible 4th. The Straightly Mine up there close. 5th on the outside. Super Saver, Calvin Burrell, they are glued to the rail. Moving into the turn, they're running in 6th. Noble's Promise is now 7th and moving through between horses. American Lion is 8th on the far outside into the clubhouse turn. And then it's Jackson Ben now running in 9th. The filly, Devil May Care is 10th and in between horses. Patio Prado is now 11th toward the rail. Back
Talk is now running in 12th position. Dean's Kitten is now 13th down toward the inside. On the far outside, homeboy Chris is 14th. Dublin runs in 15th position. Awesome Act still well held from that pace up front. He's now running 17th on the outside. And down toward the rail, it's Stately Victor, a break of 3. Back to looking at Lucky. He's about 20 lengths from the lead now with 5 furlongs to go. Then Icebox and Longshot make music for me. The field down the backstretch run. A grueling half mile in the watery going here, 46 seconds flat. And Conveyance leads the field into the far turn. He leads it now by a length. Sydney's Candy is on the chase, running in second. Noble's Promise. Noble's Promise rallies now through toward the inside third. Super Saver is fourth. He's still down inside, but Super Saver's now starting to move. There's the filling double make hair, and she's making a bold run on the far outside, moving toward the leaders. Patio Prado is trying to thread his way through now, and doubling there on the far outside as the field turns for home. Noble's Promise has the lead. Super Saver down on that fence. Now he's in front. Super Saver, Calvin Burrell, 1 furlong from the Derby here. Noble's Promise runs in second. Patio Prado is now third. Make music for me. Big Longshot now fourth on the outside, and they're coming down to the finish. And it is Super Saver. A late run from Icebox, but it's Super Saver and Calvin Burrell, the unflappable Calvin Burrell, riding that rail to victory once again in the Kentucky Derby. Icebox and Patio Prado.
Calvin Burrell strikes again. He looked as if he had tears in his eyes when he came on the track on Super Saver and they played My Old Kentucky Home. He has such genuine emotion, as we saw when he won on Street Sense and last year on Mind That Bird. He went back to the rail and he got it done again, this time on Super Saver, as the $100,000 green bet will be cashed.
And Tom, I was watching this horse down the backstretch. Calvin had him exactly where he had Mind That Bird. He was a lot more forwardly placed, but in the garden spot, right on top of the rail, the exact same as he was before.
What did Todd Fletcher say to me? He said, when he rides at Churchill Downs, Calvin Burrell is a superstar, and Calvin has just given Todd Fletcher his first Derby victory. There he is. All right, Donna has a familiar face. Calvin Burrell.
Calvin, no jockey in the history of horse racing has ever won 3 of 4 derbies consecutively. What is your secret?
We got to keep that to ourselves, baby. No, I've been very blessed, baby. Following the right horses at the right time, you know. Knowing what I know about horses, baby, helps me a lot. Being out here 7 days a week, watching horses train, I think helps a lot. I thought this horse was just peaking at the right time, and you know what? I'm going to win the Triple Crown this year.
Calvin, let me talk to you about the trip. This horse has only won 2 races. They were both on the lead throughout. You were not on the lead this time. What was your strategy going in? Did it work out the way you wanted?
Perfect. Walked in there, he told me, he said, Calvin, he's yours. Ride him like you own him. And that was it. And I knew from there I had him where I wanted him. Last race, I finally got him off the pace like I wanted, and he relaxed good, so I knew I could take him back a little bit. You know.
So you felt like in the last race you learned something about him that helped you win this race?
Yes, ma'am, a lot, because when I went on him before, he was on the lead all the way. But that last race, when I took him back a little bit, it helped me, you know, I learned a lot about him.
Even though you didn't win, you learned a lot about him?
Yes, ma'am, I sure did.
Well, this is your your 3rd Kentucky Derby win. It gives Todd Fletcher his first Kentucky Derby win. How do you feel about getting that for Todd?
I know where you're coming from. A lot of hard work, little brother.
You seem a little less emotional than you normally are. I mean, you're so used to winning the Kentucky Derby at this point. Is it old hat now?
No, it never gets old, sweetie. It's just, you know, it's finally paid off, and I'm just happy to be here.
Did you take your normal trip, the shortest way around there on the rail?
Shortest way around, baby, like my brother always told me.
Were you on the rail throughout?
Throughout, I went around one, sweetie.
Around one horse?
Yeah, turn for home.
Well done, Calvin, as always. You definitely have it figured out. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, he's finally broken through, and Todd Fletcher, is this as much joy or relief for you right now?
It's joy, you know. I mean, everyone kept saying we had one with our name written on it. I didn't take anything for granted, but it feels awfully good.
You mentioned Burrell again. How can this guy do it?
Like I said earlier in the week, he's a great rider everywhere, but he's 5 lengths better at Churchill. He just, you know, he just knows his track so well. It's a huge edge to have him.
With all the talk about, you know, losing and 0 for 24, did it really gnaw at you as the weeks went on, Todd?
Not as much as everyone else, you know, made a big deal out of it. I mean, I thought we've done a good job, and, you know, our record starts to look a little better today.
What does it say about the sport where Escondrea was your #1 horse? Everybody in the world thought he was the favorite, and yet you win the Derby, not with Escondrea, but with Super Saver.
Well, I mean, we're just fortunate, you know, that we had some really nice 3-year-olds, and, you know, even some of the other ones that didn't win today are nice horses. But, you know, we'll always think what if with the other horse, but, you know, we love this.
Congratulations, Todd. That's Todd Pletcher, Super Saver. He's finally broken free.
And Calvin is soaking it in once again in the Windstar Farm colors of Kenny Trout and Bill Kasner. A 3-year-old colt by Maria's Mom from Supercharger by AP Indy, bred in Kentucky by the owners, Windstar Farm, as Calvin Burrell makes history, the only jockey ever to win the Kentucky Derby 3 times in a 4-year span.
All right, Tom, just one more to go in. Watch Me Go and Rafael Bejarano into that outside gate. 19 3-year-olds all in line and ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Soldat had a great start, but it's Kama to the top, who goes out to the front, and there goes Shackelford to the outside, and Pants on Fire settles in right behind them. Decisive Moment is down at the rail. Soldat is right there to the outside, so it's going to be Shackelford, and Shackelford's going to make the lead in that mad rush to the first turn. Kama to the top on the inside second. Soldat is right there running in third position. Pants on Fire fourth. Decisive Moment rides the rail in fifth. Nero is sixth on the far outside. He's pretty close. He's only 5 lengths off the lead. Then Stay Thirsty, Mucho Macho Man between horses. Midnight Interlude is there. Then Santiva. Watch Me Go on the outside. At the rail is Twin-Spired. Animal Kingdom is right behind them. Then Ireland's Master of Hounds. Brilliant Speed is there on the outside. He's 10 lengths off the lead. It's another 3 to Arch, who's outside of horses and moving up. Then Calvin Burrell on the rail with Twice the Appeal. He's got 2 horses beaten. They're Derby Kitten and the favorite Dialed In is dead last. He's 15 lengths off the lead of 48 and 3/2 mile as Shackelford leads the Kentucky Derby field into the far turn. He's in front by 1.5 lengths. Kama to the top on the outside is second. Decisive Moment is third at the rail. Pants on Fire is right there in fourth. There goes Nero. Nero is moving now on the far outside. He's moving quickly after Shackelford. It's Shackelford on the far outside. Nero. Kama to the top between them. Pants on Fire is there. Mucho Macho Man is fifth. Then Animal Kingdom. Nothing yet from Dialed In. He still has about 15 horses to pass. They're into the stretch. And it's Shackelford with the rail. And Nero on the outside. These 2 Animal Kingdom roaring down the center of the track. Here comes Animal Kingdom in the middle of the racetrack to grab the lead. And then it's Nero and Shackelford. But it's Animal Kingdom and John Velasquez to win the Derby. And then it was Nero. Mucho Macho Man was third. And then came Shackelford. Animal Kingdom did it.
Doug O'Neill watching with Golden Sense. It's the 139th running of the Kentucky Derby. The purse is $2 million. The distance is 1.25 miles. It's for 3-year-olds, all of whom carry 126 pounds. And for the call of the Derby, let's go to Larry Collmus.
Thank you very much, Tom Hammond, and there's just one more to go in, and that is Vijack with Garrett Gomez about to take up position in the outside stall. 19 3-year-olds at 1.25 miles, and Vijack is in, and they're all in line. We are ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. Java's War was off to a slow beginning. A good start for Verrazano and Falling Sky. Falling Sky is the early leader, and now it's My Lucky Day, and coming through on the inside is Golden Sense, and Palace Malice is right up there too in the early mix as well. Then it's Oxbow to the inside. Vijack is on the far outside. In behind them comes Longshot Giant Finish, Frack Daddy Extreme outside. Then Will Take Charge. Normandy Invasion rides the rail as they begin that wild scurry into that first turn. And then it's a link farther back to Overanalyze. Lines of Battle is right there to the outside of horses. Golden Soul. And then comes Orb, who is third last as they make their way to the backstretch, ahead of My Lute and Rosie Napravnik. Revolutionary and Calvin Burrell are on the rail, and slow starting Java's War. A 45 1/2 mile, an extremely fast pace set by Palace Malice and Mike Smith, who lead the way up the backstretch. And an unexpected early leader here is Palace Malice. Verrazano is 3 lengths behind, running in second. Vijack, Oxbow, and Gary Stevens are on the rail. And Kevin Krieger has Golden Sense off the pace today. He's fifth as they move for the far turn. The Normandy Invasion, followed by It's My Lucky Day. Down toward the inside is Charming Kitten. After that comes Giant Finish. Nothing yet from Orb. He's still about 15th, but he begins to move up on the far outside. Palace Malice is the leader. He's set a torrid pace so far, and the pack is catching up quickly. Through on the inside is Oxbow, and Normandy Invasion is storming home, and they're into the stretch, and Normandy Invasion has taken the lead on the outside. Orb is coming with giant strides in the center of the track. And here comes Orb on the outside, now to take the lead as they come down to the 16th pole. It is Orb in front from Normandy Invasion, My Lute, and Golden Soul between horses, down to the wire. Orb has won the Kentucky Derby for Shug McGee. It was Golden Soul. Revolutionary came late on the inside, and then it was Normandy Invasion, and it was Orb today in the Derby. His final time was 2 minutes 2.89 seconds. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. A good start for California Chrome. He broke a bit outwardly. He'll be among the early leaders. Harry's Holiday fires out fast from the inside. There goes Cheetu, and California Chrome is right with them. Uncle Si, California Chrome, and Cheetu will set the pace in the Derby. And then it's Samrat running in third position, and then Vickers in trouble to the inside. Harry's Holiday is hard to control early, and moving up on the far outside of horses is Wildcat Red and Intense Holiday. Then it's Tapiture, Meadow Count, Vince Ramos, and Danza's guided down to the inside part of the track. Wicked Strong is next. Oh, Candy Boy had to steady hard on that turn. Then it's Dance with Fate, We Miss Artie to the inside. Between horses, General A-Rod, Commanding Curve, and Ride on Curlin, who was taken to the back by Calvin Burrell, will be last of them all. As they go to the back stretch, the pace is not fast. They went 47 1 for a half mile, and Uncle Si is the leader. Cheat 2 is second, and California Chrome is now just off of them. Victor Hasbinoza has him well in hand, running in third position, a length and a half off the lead. And then comes Samrat to the outside. Intense Holidays on the far outside, pretty close to the pace. Vickers in trouble, and Rosie Napravnik are down at the rail. Then comes Danza and Tapiture. Now they make their way into the far turn, and it is Uncle Si the leader. Cheat 2 is alongside, and California Chrome is third, just outside the leaders. Samrat is right next to him. The four of them are together. Then Intense Holiday, Tapiture, Meadow Count, Danza's right there in contention. Dance with Fate is next, and they're coming to the top of the stretch. And California Chrome makes his move for the lead. It is California Chrome. On the outside, Samrat runs at him with the 8 pole. California Chrome is pulling away. California Chrome into the final furlong. He's got a 5-length lead on his competition. It is California Chrome in front. And from the back of the pack on the outside, Commanding Curve is taken second. But California Chrome shines bright in the Kentucky Derby. Commanding Curve was second, and then came Danza in third. The final time, 2 minutes 3.66 seconds. They're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And American Pharaoh broke okay. He's on the outside of horses, and Dortmund is out even better. And Carpe Diem is there, and Firing Line's in the early mix too. It's going to be Dortmund to set the pace here in the Kentucky Derby. Firing Line on the outside is second. American Pharaoh is third to the outside of them. Carpe Diem is right there. Dancing Moon is close and running in between horses. Then Bolo. Mr. Z is after that, and then Ocho, Tencender. Upstart is 3 wide as they move into the turn. He's 8 lengths off the lead. Then the World Traveler Mubtahij is down on the inside. It's a Knockout is next. Materiality farther behind than we expected. And then comes Frosted, War Story, Keen Ice and Fremento near the back of the field. And the trailer is far right as they make their way to the backstretch. It is Dortmund in front. He went a half mile in an easy 47 1/5 seconds. Dortmund, the leader up the backstretch, a half a length, and Gary Stevens has Firing Line right in second position, and American Pharaoh will be third up the backstretch. He's 2.5 lengths off of his stablemate. Carpe Diem follows in fourth. Dancing Moon is fifth, and he's 5 lengths off the lead. Then Bolo on the outside of Ocho. Mubtahij is 7 lengths behind, and then it's Mr. Z, Upstart, Tencender is after that, and it's a Knockout, and they're rounding the far turn, and Dortmund is the leader. He's on top by a half length, and Firing Line confronts him, and American Pharaoh has come under a ride as Firing Line takes the lead outside of Dortmund. Here comes American Pharaoh, and he sweeps up on the far outside, and they're into the stretch, and it's American Pharaoh who has taken the lead on the outside. In between horses is Firing Line. Dortmund is down at the rail as they come into the final furlong. American Pharaoh, Firing Line not done yet, and these two come into the final 16th. It's American Pharaoh in front, Firing Line. Dortmund is third, Frosted is fourth. Coming to the finish, American Pharaoh and Victor Espinoza have won the Kentucky Derby. Firing Line was second, Dortmund was third, Frosted finished fourth in a final time of 2 minutes 3.02 seconds. Victor Espinoza has won the Kentucky Derby 2 years in a row.
Here's Larry Collmus.
Thanks, Mike. And there goes Gunnevera into the starting gate. That leaves Patch, the colt with one eye, to take the outside stall. He walks up and in. They're all in line, ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. It was a great start for Always Dreaming, and something went wrong with Thunder Snow right away. Thunder Snow is having trouble in the early stages here. Always Dreaming's going out to the lead with State of Honor. And then on the outside is Battle of Midway. Down toward the inside comes Fast and Accurate, will be fourth early on as they race by us for the first time. Then it's Irish War Cry, who's outside of horses. IRAP is next, and they're followed by Gormley on the outside, Practical Joke, and then to the outside it is Patch to the outside, and saving all the ground there is Untrapped, who's down toward the rail and racing about 8 lengths off the lead. Then back to Gervin and McCracken. Classic Empire is behind them. Then it's Gunnevera, Taprit on the outside. Looking at Lee is next, and then comes J-Boy's Echo, Sonneteer, and on the inside comes Hence. And having pulled up out of the race here was the colt from Dubai. The first half mile was in 46 2/5 seconds, so they move up the backstretch here in the Kentucky Derby, and the leader is State of Honor, pressed by Always Dreaming on the outside, who's just a neck back. Irish War Cry getting a 4-wide trip up the backstretch. Battle of Midway is right there too. Fast and Accurate starts to backpedal out of it, and then comes Gormley to the outside. Victor Espinoza has him about 5 lengths off the lead as they make their way around the far turn. Always Dreaming and John Velasquez are in front. State of Honor is dropped back. Irish War Cry now moves up on the outside and is taken second. Battle of Midway is midway between those two runners, and then it's a 3-length gap back to Gormley. McCracken has been unleashed on the far outside, and Classic Empire is beginning his charge, and he's coming wide as they turn for home, and it is Always Dreaming in front. Always Dreaming with Battle of Midway a length and a half behind as they come into the final furlong. Looking at Lee is making a bid now through on the inside up into second. Always Dreaming with a 2.5 length lead, a 16th to go. Looking at Lee is second. Then comes Battle of Midway, Classic Empire. They're coming to the line, and the dream comes true. Always Dreaming has won the Kentucky Derby. And it was Looking at Lee second, followed by Battle of Midway and Classic Empire. The final time was 2 minutes, 3.59 seconds.
And a second Kentucky Derby for Todd Pletcher. Won it in 2010, wins it in 2017 with Always Dreaming. And for the talk of Pletcher gets horses ready for the Derby, can he get another Derby winner? He does it here with Always Dreaming with the Hall of Famer, John Velazquez up.
These two guys, John Velazquez, look at how excited he is. Oh, yeah.
Hey, I guess that advice to stay on the rail paid off.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. And one of the, I mean, look, it's the Derby, so he's going to be excited, but this is for his man. Batman and Robin, I call it. So much of their success, Todd Pletcher and John Velazquez, over the last 15 years have come together as a team, yet they had never won this race together, even though they had won it individually. And they both are the leading money-winning trainer and jockey. I mean, they've dominated each of their divisions, yet not once did they win this one together. Redemption, I think, for them, Randy.
When Pletcher won his first Derby with Super Saver, it was Calvin Borel in the saddle. When Johnny Velazquez won his first with Animal Kingdom, that horse was trained by Graham Motion. So now they get to win one together. One of the keys to this race was the placing of Always Dreaming, saving ground down along the inside while some of the other key contenders were stuck out 3-4 wide at the top of the stretch. It was Always Dreaming taking off just like he did in the Florida Derby. And I thought he had a fantastic trip.
He did. He made a move in the first turn, but let's go to the top of the stretch. I mean, Norm Cassie had said something about the inside being bad. We didn't think so. Always Dreaming was always on the inside path. John Velazquez just letting him ease to the lead somewhere in the middle of the race, and certainly had enough. He had been training so well, we wondered, is it too well? Was he too rambunctious? Was he too eager? But certainly he was in peak condition for this race.
Irish War Cry made a little move at the top of the stretch. Looked like he might be ready to contend with Always Dreaming. Couldn't keep up. At the start, Classic Empire got completely broadsided from the 14 hole, knocked about 3 paths inward. He raced a little further back in the pack than they wanted him to be, but no doubt about it, the best horse won the race.
And John Velazquez, Kentucky Derby winner for the second time, with the call of the 144th Kentucky Derby, the voice of the Triple Crown, Larry Collmus.
Thank you very much, Mike. Vino Rosso just went into the starting gate. My Boy Jack is taking his position in stall 10 here, and the last couple to go into the gate will be Noble Indy and Combatant. Noble Indy, one of the 3 horses in this race wearing the colors of Windstar Farm. He's got that orange cap. That'll make things a little bit easier to pick him out among the top 3 runners there. Here comes Combatant up to the outside stall under Ricardo Santana Jr. They're all in line, and we are ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Justify had a good beginning. The expected pace setter, Promises Fulfilled, will go out to lead them. Justify is right after him, and Volt Toro is close and just to the outside of them. Then Good Magic, Noble Indy on the outside. Flame Away is down toward the rail. They're followed by Firenze Fires about 5 lengths from the front. Bravazo is next. Mendelssohn is 6 lengths off the lead, splitting horses as they move into that turn. Then Free Drop Billy down on the inside. Audible is alongside of him, and Christ is next. And then comes Magnum Mode, who's undefeated and back near the back of the pack early on. Lone Sailor's down toward the inside. Then Combatant Hofberg, Instilled Regard, Vino Rosso. My Boy Jack is second last. And Solomini is the last of 23-year-olds who complete the first half mile in a swift 45.77 seconds. Up the backstretch of the Kentucky Derby, and Justify is just to the outside of Promises Fulfilled. The 2 of them are matching strides on the lead. Victor Espinoza has Volt Doro on the far outside, running in 3rd. Flame Away is 4th and down on the inside. Good Magic 5th between those 2. Firenze Fire is down toward the rail. Then Noble Indy. Free Drop Billy. Ryan Moore starting to ask a bit more from Mendelssohn. He has his work cut out for him as they make their way into the far turn. There goes Justify. Justify takes the lead as they round the far turn. He opens up now to a length. Volt Doro comes after him. Good Magic is in the midst of his rally, and it's a 3-wide bid toward Justify as they make their way toward the top of the stretch. Justify and Good Magic start to pull away from the others, and they're into the stretch, and it's Justify and Mike Smith turning for home in front. Good Magic and Jose Ortiz a length behind as they come into the final furlong. Bravazo's down the center of the track, and then Audible on the inside, who's now up in a 3rd. Justify a 2-length lead as they come to the final 16. Good Magic on the outside is 2nd. Audible 3rd toward the inside. Then Instilled Regard. They're coming to the wire. He's just awesome. Justify has won the Kentucky Derby. It was very close for a second. Audible may have got there inside of Good Magic. Then Instilled Regard in a final time of 2 minutes 4.2 2.20 seconds. He's still undefeated.
For the first time in 136 years, a horse who did not race as a 2-year-old has won the Kentucky Derby. Justified, with Hall of Famer Mike Smith, who wins his second Kentucky Derby.
Really good ride. Mike Smith got him out of the gate quickly and got a great position early.
That might be the easiest Kentucky Derby I've ever seen won. How far did I win? But I mean, probably 3, 4, maybe, Mikey. I mean, it looked like you were just cruising. I mean, I know you asked him, but he's just beautiful. He is, and he's got that.
You heard Greg Blasey, the outrider, next to Mike Smith. Look it up. Mike has done everything. He's won everything. Big Money Mike, as you know, his nickname, those of you who follow the sport. At age 52, still going, keeps going. Only one Kentucky Derby in his 23 attempts at this race, and wins it with a terrific horse as Bob Baffert trains his 5th Kentucky Derby winning horse. All the talk, all the handicapping is done. It's time for history. With the call of the 2019 Kentucky Derby, here's Larry Collmus.
Thank you, Mike. Spinoff has moved into the starting gate. There's just 2 left to load. Country House is coming up to line now under Flavien Prat. And the last one to load will be the horse that's never won a race, Bodie Express. And he will come up to the last spot in line. They're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. Maximum Security and Vekoma had good beginnings, and they go out to the early lead, and Long Range Toddy's close too, and there goes Bodie Express on the outside into the early mix. So they will lead the way early on. And then it's War of Will running in 5th on the inside. Spinoff is 6th. Improbable is 7th position in between horses. Then Cutting Hubert to the outside, followed by Country House. Then Code of Honor, Tax, and Pluska Parfait. By my standards is alongside, about 10 lengths off the lead. Gray Magician rides the rail into that turn, and then comes Roadster alongside of the Gray Tacitus. Break of another 2 lengths more, back to Win. Game Winner is in behind him. He's second last, leading Japan's Master Fencer to the backstretch. So on to the backstretch they go, and through this first quarter mile in a sensible 46.62 seconds. Maximum Security leads the way by 3/4 of a length. Long Range Toddy pressing the pace under John Ford on the outside second. War of Will is down toward the inside under a snug hold in 3rd. Then it's Bodie Express 4th. Improbable behind horses in 5th. Vekoma 6th on the outside. And then it's Code of Honor who rides the rail into the far turn. Country House is alongside, and then Spinoff. Pluska Parfait is next, and on the inside comes Tax. Game Winner is wide on the turn, beginning to pick up his stride near the back of the pack. But Maximum Security continues to lead the way. Midway on the far turn, he's a length and a half in front. War of Will is second. Long Range Toddy 3rd, and 4 wide and moving up is Country House's Bodie Express plummets through the field. And here comes Code of Honor, and he bursts through an opening on the inside of Maximum Security, and they're into the stretch. Country House on the outside. Code of Honor down toward the rail. Maximum Security keeps on fighting. War of Will is there too as they come to the final furlong. It is Country House on the outside. Maximum Security so dead game. He keeps battling on. Maximum Security. Country House 1-2 down to the line. Maximum Security wins the Kentucky Derby. And then it was Country House second, followed by Code of Honor 3rd, and in behind them Master Fencer, who was closing late inside of Tacitus. It's Maximum Security. He's never lost a race, and he wins it under Luis Saez.
There is an objection that has been posted on the board, so it is unofficial for the moment. There you see the unofficial order of finish.
He did come out at the top of the stretch, nearing the top of the stretch. He impeded the 1-horse War of Will.
Maximum Security moved out of lane before he was clear, forcing the rider of number 1, War of Will, to chuck up a little bit.
Now, at that point, the 20, the runner-up Country House, whose claim foul was in the outside yellow cap. It actually happened before that.
It did not affect number 20. He didn't have to steady because of this, but the 1-horse did have to steady. War of Will.
Coming to the top of the stretch, maybe about a 1/16 of a mile before the quarter pole, is where Maximum Security ducked out. He did bother War of Will, definitely, but it's hard to see that he did anything to Country House.
So here we see him as we're going into the far turn. This is the 3 furlong pole, the green and white pole. There's their passing right now. War of Will, the horse with a white stripe on his face, directly in behind the horse with the pink silks. Maximum secured. Now he has a lane to run. So his jockey is taking him outside of Luis Saez and Maximum Security. Right there is where number 7, Maximum Security, came out a lane or two, forcing War of Will to steady. It's on a spot of the racetrack where it's very hard to determine exactly how much he impeded him, but you could tell by the reaction of Tyler Gaffleone on War of Will that there was definitely some contact. They disqualified him.
They did. So for the first time in the history of the Kentucky Derby, the horse that crossed the line first has been disqualified. After the objection, Country House wins the Kentucky Derby with Flavien Prat at 65 to 1.
You think he should have stayed up? I don't know. I gotta look at it.
One of the longest shots in history to win the Derby after one of the longest waits ever after the Derby. History made at the 145th Kentucky Derby. There's always history at the Derby, but not like this. The horse that crossed the finish line first moved down in the order of finish because of this. Jerry Bailey, take us through.
Maximum Security, the horse that crossed the wire first in the pink silks. He's running in lane 2 right now. You'll see him shift out through that little lane of water to the right-hand side of the water, impeding number 1, War of Will, with the white blaze down his face, and in turn impeding Long Range Toddy, the horse directly outside War of Will. Illegal in racing.
The horse on the outside, the ultimate winner by disqualification, Country House, was clear of the fracas to his inside. He wasn't bothered at all, despite what Flavien Prat said at one point after the race. He was the beneficiary of what Maximum Security did to War of Will and Long Range Toddy.
Well, let's unpack a few things here as we have Country House winning this Derby. Luis Saez, the jockey of Maximum Security, said the crowd got loud, the horse heard it. They're all young horses, all 3-year-olds, reacted and comes out. Your reaction?
Couple things. We noticed the horse shifted to his right running lead prematurely. They usually wait till they're straightened up in the stretch. Maybe because he heard that crowd. I'm not ruling that out. He's relatively inexperienced, the horse. It could have happened, but it still doesn't forgive the fact that he shifted lanes and impeded another horse.
When a horse is on his left front leg going around the turn, his left lead, centrifugal force, they're leaning to the inside. When they change to the right lead early before they get out of the turn, it causes them to veer to the right. And that appears to be what happened with Maximum Security. And it nearly, very nearly, when you see those replays, caused a pileup.
No doubt. When we looked at it even slower, it was really stop your heart there.
War of Will's front leg went in between the hind legs of Maximum Security. We saw what happened in the Kentucky Oaks at the start where a horse and jockey went down. It could have happened at the Derby.
And Long Range Toddy was pinched between Country House, who was on the outside, and War of Will, so he was in peril as well.
Did the right thing happen?
You hate to see the best horse.
By the letter of the law, yes, the right thing happened. But Maximum Security, make no doubt, was the best horse in this race.
Absolutely the best horse. But when you look at it from the standpoint that what Luis Saez did, or what Maximum Security did, what they did together at the top of the stretch, nearly caused a disastrous situation, then you can't really complain about
because if you let that go on, Mike, it's the Wild West out there. It happens all over the track then.
So that keeps the jockey, quote, in a lane, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And then you have Country House. We have not talked much about the horse itself. An incredible 65-1 story, a long shot 10 years after Mind That Bird.
His biggest problem through the string was getting out of the starting gate. He started slow, would finish fast, never quite enough, but good performances. But I don't think anybody expected this good a performance.
A horse that won for the second time in his career.
Can you believe that?
Is the Kentucky Derby winner. What will happen at the Preakness? Who knows? Talk about a wide open Derby. It is going to be a really wide open Preakness when we get to Baltimore in 2 weeks. But Country House wins the Kentucky Derby, leg 1 of the Triple Crown.
Authentic comes up. They're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. Authentic did not break on the lead here. Tis the Law is out quickly. Storm the Court is right there too with New York Traffic, and now Authentic is moving to their outside to be a part of the pace and now take over as they race by us for the first time. Authentic will make the front, but it was not easy to get there. Storm the Court is second on the inside. New York Traffic is third, and Tiz the Law is right there fourth, moving into that turn. Then Enforceable, followed by Major Fed. Money Moves 3 wide. Attachment Rate out there 4 wide. Winning Impression is 7 lengths behind. Then Mr. Big News, 3 to South Bend, 2.5 back to Max Player racing on the inside of Necker Island. Honor AP is second last early, leading only Sole Volante to the backstretch. And the first half mile goes in 46.41 seconds. So the pace is honest enough here for Authentic, and he leads by 1.5 lengths. New York Traffic sits in second. Storm the Court is third. Manny Franco has the Belmont Stakes winner, Tiz the Law, just 2.5 lengths behind, outside of horses in clear running room. And then it's Major Fed right alongside of Money Moves racing for the far turn. Attachment Rate is next. Mr. Big News is about 8 lengths behind right now, and Honor AP still lingering along at the back of the pack as Authentic takes them around the far turn. Tiz the Law's making his move now, and here he comes right up alongside of Authentic. A long shot, Mr. Big News has made a big run up into third, and they're into the stretch, and it's Tiz the Law on the outside of Authentic. These two stride for stride as they come to the final furlong. Authentic is digging in. Tiz the Law all out to get by him. Authentic and John Velasquez have the lead as they come down to the 16th pole. Tiz the Law still trying to get him. Authentic, Tiz the Law, here's the wire. Authentic has won the Kentucky Derby. John Velasquez does it with Authentic. Tiz the Law has to settle for second, and then it was Mr. Big News. Honor AP ends up fourth. 2 minutes, 0.61 seconds was the final time for Authentic. Bob Baffert has done it for the 6th time.
Soup and Sandwich just walked in. Bourbonic and Kendrick Carmouche will be the last to load here. 19 3-year-olds. All in line and ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And off to a solid beginning here. And it will be Medina Spirit who comes out the best to take the early lead. Soup and Sandwich on the outside, away running in second. Helium is close up to the pace in between those two, and these three will lead them early. And then it's Hot Rod Charlie behind them, Mandaloon on the inside. Essential Quality is outside of horses and 4 lengths from the front early. And then it's Superstock, followed by Highly Motivated. Rock Your World's coming from well off the pace here as they make their way into the turn. He's a good 10 lengths off the lead. Then toward the inside, it's Old Pesos. They're being followed by Midnight Bourbon, who's well off the pace as well. Like the King is next on the inside. Then Brooklyn Strong. Dynamic One is next. Known Agenda, followed on the outside by Hidden Stash. And at the back of the pack earlier, Bourbonic. And the trailer is Keep Me in Mind. The first half mile was 46.7 seconds, and Medina Spirit leads them up the backstretch. The Bob Baffert trainee is 3/4 of a length in front. Soup and Sandwich on the outside second. Mandaloon drafts in right behind the front runners, third on the inside. Then it's Helium in fourth. Hot Rod Charlie behind them. Essential Quality begins to move on the far outside as they make their way around the far turn. Medina Spirit is still the leader here, and Mandaloon comes on the scene on the outside, a half length behind. Essential Quality is put to pressure. Hot Rod Charlie right in behind the leaders. Flavie and Pratt asking him to go now as they make their way to the top of the stretch. Medina Spirit and Mandaloon are stride for stride. Hot Rod Charlie and Essential Quality closing on the outside. The 4 of them come into the final furlong. Mandaloon fighting for the front. Medina Spirit battles on. Hot Rod Charlie on the outside. Essential Quality on the far outside. The 4 of them coming to the finish in the Kentucky Derby. Here's the wire. Bob Baffert does it again. Medina Spirit has won the Kentucky Derby. Mandaloon was second. Hot Rod Charlie was third. Essential Quality was fourth. 2:01:02 the final time. Bob Baffert stands alone with 7 Derby wins. Once again, we're ready for a start.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Summer is Tomorrow had a great start and goes immediately to the early lead. Messier is away running with speed. Crown Pride to the outside. Epicenter is going to be taken back a bit. Down toward the inside as Tapa goes up outside of Chargent.
And farther out and close to the pace is Cyberknife. Then comes on the outside Zozos as they race by us for the first time. It will be Summers tomorrow to lead the way. Crown Pride on the outside second. Messier follows in third. Zozos fourth. Cyberknife is fifth to the outside. And then it's Taba charging behind them. Epicenter finds himself in mid-pack here. Pioneer Medina, Smile Happy next, and then Zandon to the inside and wide up Mario. Last Causeway is after that. They're followed by Tawny Port. As they head to the backstretch, Simplification is next. Then comes Tiz the Bomb, Rich Strike, O'Donegal to the inside, and then the two trailers up the backstretch are Barber Road and Happy Jack. That opening half mile was, whoa, blazing fast. 45.36 seconds for Summers tomorrow, who heads up the backstretch in front with Japan's Crown Pride right alongside, and Messier goes up in between those two. The pace continues to be hot. Zozos is next after 3/4 in 1 minute 10 and 4/5 seconds, and now Epicenter comes splitting horses and is moving up quickly as Crown Pride takes the lead around the far turn. It is Crown Pride battling with Messier. They're stride for stride. Epicenter and Zozos in behind them. Cyberknife swings up to the outside. Zandon gets the rail run, and they're into the stretch. And it's Messier, Crown Pride, and Epicenter is coming up on the outside. Epicenter has taken the lead as they arrive into the final furlong. Zandon is coming after him. Epicenter and Zandon, these two, stride for stride. Simplification down the outside is next. They're coming down to the wire. Epicenter, Zandon, Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness, the longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset. Just a couple left to go in. The Japanese runner, Mandarin Hero, taking his spot in the starting gate. Disarm steps up, and the last one will be King Russell. Just got into this race yesterday, but we saw that happen with Rich Strike. King Russell goes in. They're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Jace's Road has a very good beginning and goes out to the front. Reincarnate and Kings Barnes have speed too, and Verifying will join them from the inside. So it's these four early on. Confidence Game and Two Fills drafting in behind them. And then Hit Show to the inside. They're being followed by Rocket Can and Raise Cane. King Russell is next. Cyclone Mischief to the outside. And then comes Mandarin Hero and Disarm. Dermis Otagake has been taken well off the pace here. He is near the back of the pack early on. And then comes Mage, followed by Sun Thunder, Angel of Empire, and Tapit Trice. The two favorites are second to last and last as they race to the backstretch. It is Verifying in front. Kings Barnes on the outside second. This opening quarter mile was quicker than we expected, 45.73 seconds. And then it's Reincarnate running in third to the outside. Two Fills follows in fourth. Confidence Game fifth. Hit Show is sixth. He's racing 6 lengths off the lead. Break of another 2 to Rocket Can. And then Raise Cane to the inside. Disarm is next. Mandarin Hero has 9 lengths to make up, and fellow Japanese runner Dermis Otagake has moved through on his inside. Angel of Empire has passed a few too. He's down on the rail as they make their way around the far turn. Kings Barnes, the undefeated runner for Todd Pletcher, is the leader. Here's Two Fills making a move on the inside, and the two of them hook up, and Jareth Loveberry has taken Two Fills to the front. And Kings Barnes is running in second. Hit Show is circled up on the outside as they come to the top of the stretch, and they're into the stretch, and Two Fills has turned for home on top. Kings Barnes, here's Mage coming strongly down the outside. Angel of Empire is putting in his run, and there's 1 furlong to run. Two Fills on the inside, trying to hold off Mage. Mage has taken the lead here as they come into the final 16th, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby. And then it was Two Fills, Angel of Empire in a photo. Disarm was fourth. Mage has done it in 2:01.57 seconds under Javier Castellano.
I've been working on it for a month or two, watching all the prep races, and now it's crunch time. You kind of know who they are. I've made index cards of all the silks and just keep looking at them over and over again until I feel like I know who they are. And now you're at the point where, okay, what are the running styles? Who's going to go to the front? Who's going to come from behind? And there's so much involved, and it's the only race, and I think these guys will agree. I think it's the only race where you have to go in with a game plan because there's so many horses and because you want to get them all in. It seems like it's just different from any other race.
Completely. I mean, the bad thing is there's 20 horses, but the good thing is what you said. You watched all the prep. You get to really know these horses better than you know a normal field, say on a Wednesday afternoon. You know these horses that are running back in the Derby.
And their style of running.
Yes.
But you say 20, but you and I both called a race with a Derby with 21 horses.
Yeah. I know.
And people think immediately that, and Larry called me up before he was going to call his first Derby, and he says, do you have a problem memorizing all 20 horses? And I told him, that's going to be the easiest thing that you do, because you know those horses backwards and forwards like you know members of your family. And the hard part about 20 horses is not memorizing them, as I think you'll all agree. It's seeing them. You can't call what you can't see, and when there's 20 of them, they tend to stack up outside, and if you got 3 or 4 wide, and then they're all bunched up like a bunch of bananas.
Plus, it's the Kentucky Derby, and your binoculars might not be quite as steady as they are at the 5th race at Aqueduct. Right. Your mind is and your nerves are a little bit there. Not a lot.
Isn't the broadcast booth location at Churchill Downs, in some sense, less than ideal, in that it's not really at the center of the track as they come toward the finish line? The horses are coming toward you rather than you having a broad horizontal view, right?
It's definitely a head-on type shot when they turn for home. Most tracks you're sort of looking out a little bit. At Churchill they are running straight at you, but at least you're right on the finish line, which is a good thing. And it's probably the best seat in the house, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you when it wasn't a good seat. When Smarty Jones ran on the Kentucky Derby, we thought there might not even be a Kentucky Derby.
So hard.
But that was the year that they were putting up the new grandstand or the new clubhouse side. And I was literally on a scaffold. And I'm looking around, and here's this guy with a beard gathering animals 2 by 2. There's thunder and lightning. Thor's up there throwing thunderbolts, and I'm sitting out there on a scaffold, 100 feet in the air. Oh, no lightning's going to get me with all this microphones and technical stuff all over me. So they took us off the stage, and right before we came on air, the rain finally stopped. But I don't know what we would have done.
Sounds like American Pharaoh's Preakness.
Another thing about the Derby, though, is that I think we all probably feel that it was incumbent on us to get through the whole field of 20, because somebody in St. Louis was in an office pool and pulled out that name of that horse. And even though in a regular race you would go back to the contenders, you're trying to get through the whole field, but through 20 or 21 horses, you just felt like, at least I did, that I felt like I had to get through.
In 2 minutes.
Well, once at least around.
Right. I always tried to do it by the time they've run a half mile. Right at that pole, the 3/4 pole. They've run that half mile. I want to get that 20th horse in and say they ran the half in this. And then you never call 20 again. Then you call 10 to 12 or so.
But I try to give the ordinal numbers of the horses, so all the way back to 20. So I go, and I remember when Giacomo was running. Oh my God! And I'm going through the field. He's 13th. He's 14th. He's 15th. 16th. He's 17th. Giacomo's 18th. So and so's 19th. So and so's, and I'm going. It's like, is this ever going to end? Are they going to be at the finish line before I get through the field? And at that point, they're midway down the backstretch, and Giacomo's still out in the clouds.
And I don't do that for 2 reasons. One, because it seems like it takes too much of my time, and 2, because I think I'm going to mess it up and skip a number.
And then you go, he's 22nd.
He's 21st. Yeah.
20.
Where did and down the stretch they come originate? Signature.
When I was working at Santa Anita in the 70s, the sound system was the same that they put in 1935. If you ever see the Marx Brothers A Day at the Races, it's the same one from 1935 that I was using back in the 70s. In order to be heard over the crowd, these cones would blast, but it would be a 1.5 seconds delay from what you said to what you heard back, like Lou Gehrig. This is the most famous. So in order to be heard over a big crowd, you had to underline it, put a rumble to it, and that's what I did with a horse called Vigers, who was coming up to the Santa Anita handicap, the big cap. And he had this great eye-appealing go to the middle of the track, drop his head, and smoke home. And that's what I did. In order to be heard over the crowd, I started to say at the top of the stretch or wherever, and down the stretch they come, and it was picked up. I noticed that the local stations would use it as the start for any stretch call, and then people started to say it back to me. And that's how it happened.
Clicked.
Yeah.
And the emphasis on the word down, too. How it was said, not just the words, but the inflection became iconic.
And I was using that call back at Fairmount Park in the 60s, and down the stretch they come. But I didn't put a rumble underneath it and emphasize the down until Santa Anita in the 70s.
Yeah, I remember when I was working at Florida Downs at the time, and our meet ended right after the Derby the first week in May, and I tape recorded a cassette recorder of the time of your call of Affirmed and Alydar in the Derby, and I played that the entire trip back from Tampa to Chicago. I must have played it literally 200 times.
That's great.
You know, I don't have any one particular race that I think back on, but I think all four of us will agree that when we're long gone, somebody somewhere will hit a play button or punch a button in the Kentucky Derby Museum, and out will come our call of that Kentucky Derby. I get chills right now because it's humbling to know that we were the history of that race at
Just
that
to be
time.
a small part of it is
Live,
is humbling. You're
not
right.
scripted.
It's the
and
race.
that's what I will take with me.
As we sit here and as the Derby draws near, are you feeling butterflies, excitement, nerves, fear, combination of all those things?
All of the above. I think the best part is when it's over. When you've survived the Kentucky Derby, because it's fun, the atmosphere, the huge crowd, the excitement, it's all great, but man, it just takes a lot out of you. I mean, you don't want to mess it up.
Mike, you still set the morning line at Keeneland and at Churchill Downs,
Right.
but did any of you ever bet on races you called?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
All the time.
All the time.
Including the Derby?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Winning colors was my best score that I called.
I bet on Swale. It's all Swale. Yeah. You know,
I called the Derby. I called like 10 or 12 Derbies. I'm 0 for life. So.
I must be the only one that never bet on it. Maybe I'll do it this year.
Keep on saying that. Don't worry about it. We won't tell her.
One of your esteemed predecessors, Fred Capicella, famously said, you can never bet on a race you're calling because it'll cloud your call and your judgment, but you guys don't buy that, obviously.
I never did.
You know, like you said,
about it.
I set the morning line too, and I think, my picks are in newspapers, and I think if I didn't bet, it would be like it would just not be right. If you can't go up and put your money where your mouth is, you have to bet to do the job I do, and the call in the races. It's sometimes it will affect. I've called races where I had the pick six going, and that's very hard. Where I've won the pick six too, and that's tough to do. Yeah.
That's the good thing about it. If you bet on the horses, you've got that off switch. You know what I mean?
But when you do it all the time, it becomes part of it. And sometimes I can't say you forget about who you bet on, but you put it aside.
I think all of us, you could never tell, an average fan could never tell if we had a bet on a horse in a race by our calls, because you just call the race like you would call the race. You might, in the back of your head, be rooting for the horse, but it just doesn't come out that way in the race.
Except for that pick six. That was the only
That's
horse
different.
I called all the way down. I forgot
Depends
the
on how
rest
much
of
money's involved.
You mentioned, Dave, that horse racing is filled with so many colorful and interesting characters, and yet the nature of calling a race, it's over like that. A single at-bat in a baseball game could last as long as the Kentucky Derby lasts. So that gives someone with the skill of Vin Scully or whomever it may be a chance to tell a story about this guy or that, or carry the story on through the inning or whatever it may be. And there's time between plays for Al Michaels to embellish. You guys must have a wealth of stories about the horse racing game that you've never really been able to tell on the air except in settings like this.
Pretty much. It's pretty hard to, when they're going down the backstretch.
Yeah.
There's Johnny Velasquez on Always Dreaming. Boy, oh boy. Johnny had a great story he used to tell folks about one night. With
Precisely.
Maybe a 3-horse field.
Yeah. No, I messed those up. No, it was fine.
But it's such a colorful sport.
Right.
Without room in the call itself for color. I mean, you can give a colorful call descriptively, but there's no analyst with you. That's all after the fact. Yeah. And the background and the anecdotes, that's for someone else, not for the race caller.
And when I started calling races in New York after Cahokia and Fairmount, I was told do not use jockeys or trainers' names in the call. I was forbidden to do that. And you also had to shut the mic off at the 16th pole because they didn't want that gambling information to go out. This is, 60s and 70s. And so those are the stories that are going through your head about, Woody Stevens going to win his 5th straight Belmont, or Steve Coffin, the kid, wins the Kentucky Derby as a teenager. But I was basically stopped from doing that. In fact, all track announcers at that time were.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were supposed to shut it off, and we weren't. No jockeys' names, nothing like that.
I remember getting a memo saying, from my boss saying, "Please tell Mr. Johnson it's horse racing, not jockey racing."
Oh boy.
And yet, even the casual observer would want to know about Willie Shoemaker or Eddie Arcaro or Mike Smith these days, whoever it may be, or Bob Baffert's a giant star of racing.
Right. These guys come back every year. The horses are new every year. The trainers and jockeys, they know. So yeah, you want to mention them. I mean, when we're doing a Derby show, you saw earlier where his horse is.
All right, it's Derby Day, and your focus is the possible 20-horse field and making sure you got it all straight. But that's not the only reason people watch the Kentucky Derby. The pageantry, the tradition, the whole atmosphere. How much of that can you enjoy and soak up even as you're absorbed by your duties?
For me, next to none. And an example is my old Kentucky home, which, as I grew up in horse racing since I was a little kid, and Kentucky Derby Day, when they played my old Kentucky home, I would get chills. I'm like, oh my God, the Kentucky Derby's going to start. This is the greatest thing. And now, you're the guy who's calling the Kentucky Derby. So I knew that I couldn't deal with that. As soon as they started playing my old Kentucky home, I took my headset off so I didn't hear it, and just started repeating the horses' names on the track over and over to myself because I would get too hyped up. So since I started calling the Derby, I don't listen to my old Kentucky home.
And when the horses come out on the track, that's the best time you have to get that picture of that horse with the jockey and the caps. Mm-hmm. I called a Kentucky Derby one time. Of the 20 horses, there were 16 wrong caps on jockeys. 16 of them.
Wow.
So when they're moving in front of you with the old Kentucky home, that's your best shot to get it right, to find out what that horse really looks like, what the jockey's colors are.
So you're not
the nerves just came back, by the way.
On Derby Day, you're not really looking around saying which celebrities are here, or look at the hat on that lady. And
I tell you what,
my old Kentucky home still gets to me. Yeah, every time.
That's why I can't listen to it.
It still
gets
Kentucky. It gets to me, definitely.
The time before the race before the Derby, and the Derby itself is usually 90 minutes, and always refer to that as the longest 90 minutes in sports. Because you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
The longest 90 minutes in anticipation of the most exciting 2
2
minutes in sports. The Derby is a day of reveling for more than 100,000 people there. You've got a job to do. What's the aftermath? Do you guys just cut loose?
I do.
Yeah, I've always said that the Kentucky Derby is my favorite race. It's never going to be anything like calling the Kentucky Derby. But my favorite day is the Sunday after the Derby. That's my favorite day of the year because it's all over and you can sit back and relax, and then you can cut loose.
Yeah. After Derby Day and Breeders' Cup Day, I just kind of went home, had a couple glasses of wine, and 8:30, baby, heads on the pillow. I was exhausted.
I was the complete opposite. As soon as the Derby is over, I dash down to the NBC trailer where they have hopefully a little wine there, and I down it as fast as I can because the Derby's over. And then I can't usually sleep that night. I'm still so hyped up, I can't sleep the night after the Derby.
Just hanging out with friends after the big race. That's what the Derby was about for me, just the people involved. I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, I never called a Kentucky Derby where I was in the booth by myself. I had the Churchill Downs announcers, but yeah, I would have 4 and 5 people in there with me all the time, all Derby day. Wow. So I never called a race, Kentucky Derby, when I was in the booth by myself. Never one time.
Well, you're surrounded by bookmakers.
Yeah, of course. All my friends. So right after the Derby, especially if we had the winner, we were kind of partying and everything. But you know, I know you guys all, you go in and you know close it up, but I was never like that. I never got that. I never could do that.
You ever take a look at the field and see a name or two that are 6 or 7 syllables or whatever it may be? This is unpronounceable, and say, oh my God, what am I going to do with this?
Well, there was a horse called Yakahika you know, and the guy wanted me to mispronounce it. Fine, I'll give it to you 7 different ways. Dola Haka Raka Mika, Mika Rola Daka, Hola Rola Cola Laka.
But the horse was Yakahika
Mikadola. Can't you say that?
Yeah, I just did. Yakahika Mikadola?
Yakahika Mikadola.
Where was this?
That was at Hylia.
I had a race at Churchill it was 3 horses coming down the stretch together. It was a photo finish. Titicaka, Natsolaka, and Polakala.
Get out of here.
Titicaka, Natsolaka, Polakala, Polakala, Titicaka, Natsolaka. I had them all the way down the stretch, and the 3 of them finished that far apart. By the end, I was Titipaka, I had no idea what I was saying or who won.